Today we're talking about self-editing, how you can edit your own stories. It won't be as perfect as if you had a true professional with like a master's degree in English who worked at a publishing company for a couple of years and did editing there. But it will get you past most problems. For this, I'm using some tools, and my primary tool is going to be Microsoft Word. There are many versions. My understanding is that Word 2008 forward will do some of the tricks that I'm going to show you. I had previously used Word 365, which only costs $75 a year, but it's every year. You can buy Word 2016 cheap at most places because it's the old version. They have the old version. They bought it at wholesale. They'll sell it for a few dollars more just to get it off their shelves. I'll show you some alternatives to using Word too, but you'll see why I like this as a tool. The first thing I'm going to do is call up a document, and this is a file I was working on. In Microsoft Word, first of all, it has a good spell and grammar checker. It's asking for a comma there, so I'm going to click that. It's changing my spelling. It's asking for another comma. Okay, and here it's saying yes, and it's adding a comma. Chatsworth, it's changing the spelling. Plenty, changing the spelling. Ventura, it can't tell that. It should be Ventura, R-A. I know it because I live there. So I'm finishing it. Broadbeck, I'm going to leave that as is, because it's probably a name of a street. So now I'm going to go saving this with a number, 1, so that I don't ruin the original. And now we're going back to the top, and now I'm going to look at ly words with the Find and Replace tool. And we're going to see how many we can replace. Ly words are generally adverbs. They usually don't help a sentence. They usually hurt it. Sometimes they color it. Okay, a car eventually pulled up. We can get rid of eventually and make the sentence stronger. So let's take this out. A car pulled up to the curb with a woman whose face was vaguely familiar. Now, Jennifer is new here. She's just come into town for the first time. She has really not met her aunt before, but has seen pictures of her and videos of her. So her face is vaguely familiar. Vaguely is an ly word. In this case, it works. So let's leave it. Jennifer promptly flopped on the bed and passed out. She is very tired. Promptly, again, modifies flopped very well in this case. She's not like a kid coming home from school who just flops on the bed and clicks on the TV set or clicks on the arcade game and looks at it. She's dead tired. She promptly flopped on the bed. Family stays. July stays. Not really familiar with it. Really can go here. Really is an adverb. Big university. University of California at Los Angeles. Not familiar with it. Let's take the really out. Zip it right out. And you're really from Mars. Really works here. This is a good modifier. This is works here. Only stays. Especially can go. Mom started a trend, especially among the rank and file workers. Mom started a trend among the rank and file workers is a stronger sentence. So we take especially out. and we're going to see how many ands we can take out. You really should only have one in a sentence, unless it also has a list. And if you can get away with it, none in a sentence. That sounds like we have back home, except ours is down the hall and across from Mom and Dad's room. And we can take the and out there and put a comma after hall, and it makes it a better, stronger sentence. That's like what we have back home, except ours is down the hall across from Mom and Dad's room. Soaps and shampoo is good. That's a list. You put an and in the list. And if you only have two items, you don't necessarily use a comma. The comma in a list is the Oxford's comma. And there are such things as compound. Toast and butter is a compound. Peanut butter and jelly is a compound. Wine sounds fine, Jen said as Kathy got up and poured herself some more wine and a glass of pink wine for Jennifer. Okay, we take that and out and add a comma. Jen said as Kathy got up, poured herself some more wine, and a glass of pink wine for Jennifer. We don't need pink wine because in the next sentence, Kathy's going to say with a question mark, vin rosé. She poured the wine without thinking that maybe Jen doesn't like, but vin rosé is a pink wine, so it's being redundant. You don't want to be redundant in your writing. And we're going to change that whole thing there and get rid of that and a glass of pink wine for Jennifer, along with a glass for Jennifer. Since she's pouring it out of the vin rosé bottle for herself, she's also pouring it into a glass for Jennifer. So that makes the sentence quite tight, and it gives us a picture in our mind. She's pouring from a bottle, she pours herself a glass, and she pours a glass for Jennifer, and then asks, vin rosé? And Jen just nods and says, that's fine. It kind of says something about Kathy. I don't know if I intended to say that about Kathy or not, but she acted without thinking or asking. And she should have said red, white, or vin rosé. But Kathy didn't. Kathy is drinking vin rosé, so she figured everybody's drinking vin rosé, so that kind of says something about Kathy. This is how you get your character going, and you have to think about this. Is that really what I want people to think about Kathy? And if it's not, then you rewrite, wine sounds fine, Jen said as Kathy got up, poured herself some more wine. Then she should have looked at Jennifer and said, vin rosé? Or would you like red or white? And then the next sentence there, Kathy brought the wine over and set it in front of Jennifer, and then sat herself down next to Jennifer. And. You see the problem with ands. Kathy brought the glass over, comma, set it in front of Jennifer, comma, and then sat down next to her. And when we put this through Grammarly, or Ginger, or Pro Writing Aid, it's going to tell us whether or not these commas were bad. And if it doesn't like them, it may put the and back in and take the comma out. Sis and your dad said you were coming and said you left, but I had no idea when you'd actually get here. And that's a very awkward sentence. Your dad, that's Kathy is Jennifer's aunt. Jennifer's mother is Kathy's sister. So sis that Kathy is talking about is Jennifer's mother, and your dad would be her brother-in-law. And that's just an awkward thing. I can't imagine a sister saying that. I can't imagine an aunt saying that. Sis and your dad. So let's get rid of and your dad, and said you left is extraneous. Let's get rid of that. There's usually a comma before so's or after so's, depending on where the so is. Same thing with but. If you start a sentence with but, which you can do, it's not advisable, but you can start a sentence with but, it usually has a comma after it. Okay, here's the hard one. We arrived within the span of a week, and then it's waiting to coming down and processing through. Apparently they had no idea I was coming down, so I had no processing. Well, if I did have processing, it's past and done. Jennifer grinned and hid her face behind the glass. That's the wine glass. Because I ducked out the front door and just came here. Jen's being cute, Jen told her. I tried calling you several times, but I got no answer. Got's a bad word to use. Don't use got unless you're talking, unless it's a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old talking. I got no time for you. I got none. I got no. Got's a bad word. So we're going to get rid of that whole sentence up there. Apparently, well, we can get rid of that too. That's an adverb. Starting a sentence with an adverb, which is not wrong, but we don't need it. They had no idea I was coming down, so I had no processing. Yeah, it's hard to say. They had no idea I was coming down, so I had no processing. And this, well, if I did have processing, it's past and done. I don't like that either. So we're shortening this whole paragraph. This is what editing's about. You take things out that don't help the story. You take things out that just bog the reader down. I had no processing. So I had no processing, period. Jen grinned and hid her face behind the glass. 'Cause I ducked out the front door and just came here. Come after the cause. I wanted to make it more informal, so you could even make it cuz, C-U-S, cuz. I ducked out the front door and just came here. That could be an ungrammatical, very informal thing. Because it should be because I ducked out the front door and just came here. That's the formal. Because I ducked out the front door and just came here. So is the next word we're going to limit. Okay, that so can come out. The whole thing, so far, can come out. Well, it's cost me close to $500 of my folks' savings, and I haven't been here for more than 12 hours. And I think we're going back to the top, and I think now we're going to do the buts. And if you have Pro Writing Aid, it has a tool. That was one of the things I liked about Pro Writing Aid. It has a tool for overly used words, and it will show you in their order all the words you used over and over and over. Some of the neighbors have seen them. They were talking about rattlesnakes. Do they really come here? I've seen them in westerns. Do they really come here? Some of the neighbors have seen them, but I haven't in all these years. We could make that 2 sentences. Some of the neighbors have seen them, period. I haven't in all these years. We could make it a semicolon. I haven't in all the years we've been here, because it's the same, you're talking about the same topic, but it's 2 different things. I'm not sure if the comma is right. When we put it through Grammarly, we'll see. Enlisted men don't salute each other, but we do salute officers and they salute us. But I did a lot of right seat work. Okay, here she's talking about airplanes. Left seat is the pilot, right seat is the co-pilot. But I did a lot of right seat work and some left seat work on 2 and 4 engine prop planes. Here we've got the and problems again, as well as the but problems. I did a lot of right seat work, and we're going to get rid of that and make it something else. We're going to get that and out of there and turn it into another phrase. And comes out along with left seat work on 2 and 4 engine prop planes. 2 and 4 engines, the and stays there because it's a list. 2 and 4. And we get rid of the extraneous and, it became along with, and I think it makes it a better sentence. And then you save it again. We're saving all this again. Here we open Grammarly. And Grammarly works with Windows with an app. This is Grammarly free. You go to the Grammarly site, you subscribe to it. It's free to use, but it's not the expanded version. I don't find the expanded version really worth it for me. And you can download a free app to use it with either Word for Windows or Word for Mac. I think it also works with Google Docs, but I don't use Google Docs, so I don't really know. Grammarly also works standalone at the site. So if it doesn't work with Google Docs, and if you don't have Word for Mac or Word for Windows, you can go to the Grammarly site. And if you don't have Microsoft Word, you can go to the Grammarly site, upload your chapters or your entire document, and it will give you all the changes. Whereas here, as you can see, it works side by side, and it comes up, and it's the click of a button. Here it wants to do and if, and you can undo it if you want. There were no windows on the plane. None of the passengers knew where they were, what time of day it was, if it was sunny or rainy outside. Possibly could have left it like that, but it says put in and if, and I think we're going to do it. Grammarly is pretty good with compound words, armrests. It's telling me I goofed. I didn't know if it was 2 words or not. And Grammarly, with the click of the button, is going to make it 1 word. Grimace on their faces. See, I did singular. Grammarly's telling me to do plural. Grammarly is right on this. Despite the fact Grammarly doesn't like that phrase. Even though I like that. Some had sweat running down their brow, even though the air conditioning system was on and operating nicely. In fact, it's going to tell us to remove that. As far as Jennifer was concerned, it's downright cold in there. You can see how my first draft looks. As far, and that's going to change and to as. So far, Grammarly's pretty smart. Remove redundancy. I need you to rise up with your luggage. See, up is extraneous. I need everyone to rise with your luggage and walk forward in a nice, straight, single file line. And again, it's going to either hyphenate it or compound word it. It's going to add a hyphen. Grammarly's pretty good with that. Everybody began to get up and slowly move forward. We're going to keep that adverb. I don't want people to think they're rushing. I don't want the reader to think they're going at a normal pace. Everyone's in a plane. It's tight. They get up and they slowly move forward. And it's going to add an and. Everybody began to get up and slowly move forward. It's going to change breath to breathe. It's going to do that several times. With the they, them, today of the neuter thing, this might be fine, but in this case, her right shoulder and her right hand, I like the change. And I think Grammarly did a better job than I did. I'm not making Jennifer a neuter. She is a girl. And proud of it. Add a comma. That's a list. Hands, arms, and legs. That's a list. And that's also the Oxford comma. You put that before something that isn't together, like peanut butter and jelly or toast and butter. And I think we're going to go straight to the reading thing, which is that A with the 2 parentheses up at the top. That's the text-to-speech function.
It's downright cold in there. The plane came to a stop and there was a long wait until the attendant stood up front and talked with them. Good morning, everyone. It's 9.
Okay. Let's get rid of front. Makes the sentence read better.
The plane came to a stop and there was a long wait until the attendant stood up and talked with them. Good morning, everyone. It's 9:30 Pacific Daylight Time. We have just landed at Edwards Air Force Base in the California desert. I'm told that it's a balmy 85.
Okay, let's get rid of have. It's an unnecessary word, a very unnecessary word.
The plane came to a stop and there was a long wait until the attendant stood up and talked with them. Good morning, everyone. It's 9:30 Pacific Daylight Time.
I don't like that either. And address them.
The plane came to a stop and there was a long wait until the attendant stood up and addressed them. Good morning, everyone. It's 9:30 Pacific Daylight Time. We just landed at
I might get rid of that comma. I found the pregnant pause there annoying, even though it's grammatically
The
correct.
plane came to a stop and there was a long wait until the attendant stood up and addressed them. Good morning, everyone. It's 9:30 Pacific Daylight Time. We just landed at Edwards Air Force Base in the California desert. I'm told that it's a balmy 85 degrees outside and the humidity is 10%. We are waiting on the ground crew to bring the passenger stairs over so you can leave the plane. Please make sure you have
Depart.
We are waiting on the ground crew to bring the passenger stairs over so you can depart the plane. Please make sure you have all your luggage with you. He promptly vanished.
We may not even like passenger. Let's make the sentence smaller and more distinct.
We are waiting on the ground crew to bring the stairs over so you can depart the plane. Please make sure you have all your luggage with you. He promptly vanished off to one side. After more waiting, sunlight finally filtered through the walls on the far left side of the cabin. I need everyone to rise with your luggage and walk forward in a nice, straight single file line. Please, no crowding or place jumping as you will not get out any faster. The attendant said over the address system. Everyone began to get up and slowly.
Make that a small t.
Please, no crowding or place jumping as you will not get out any faster, the attendant said over the address system. Everyone began to get up and slowly move forward. Jen grabbed her 2 bags and moved into the line that was progressing forward one small step at a time. When she finally reached the doorway, the light outside was so bright she couldn't see. 2 steps outside and desert heat smashed right into her. She found it almost impossible to breathe as she reached for the railing and slowly.
I would add the.
2 steps outside and the desert heat smashed right into her. She found it almost impossible to breathe as she reached for the railing and slowly made her way down the stairs, one bag slung over her right shoulder and the other bag in her right hand. It took forever to make it to the bottom of the stairs. She took 2 more steps and that was all she wrote. Lights out.
This concludes our very brief look at editing and rewriting. And to give you an idea, we did 2,800 words in approximately 23 minutes. In reality, it's going to take you about a day for each of these things that I've shown you. The first grammar and spell checker is going to take about a day. It's going to fatigue you. It's going to take about a day to go through 40,000 to 140,000 words. It's going to take about a day to do the ly words. As for the ands, it'll take another day. The but and so's, you can probably get through both of them in one day. And then there's Grammarly. That's probably going to take 1 or 2 days to go through an entire document, especially if it's like 100,000 words, and do all the corrections. And then you go to the read aloud. You go to the text-to-speech part with Windows, or if you haven't got Windows, you can use Adobe Reader, which is free. Adobe Reader under the View menu has a Read Out Loud function that works a lot like the one in Word, and you follow along in a word processor. In my case, I'm using LibreOffice, especially because LibreOffice will export a PDF file. So you can take your doc file, export it as a PDF, put it into Adobe, and then follow along and make corrections as you use the read aloud function Another thing you could use, if you want, is Natural Reader Free. That's what I started with when I first began doing this, was Natural Reader Free. The only problem with that is it goes through about 3/4 of a page, and then it gives you an ad for Natural Reader Paid, and Natural Reader Paid was simply too expensive. I didn't want to go for it. This concludes our basic look at editing and rewriting, and if you'll notice, I was rewriting along with all the edits. The edits themselves were getting rid of the wrong spelling, putting the commas in, but as you're going through it with the ands and the ly words and the buts and the so's, you're finding other things that need to be changed. And then when you get into the read out loud part, we did 84 words in 3 minutes with the read out loud part. I generally take 3 to 8 months doing that on a daily basis, and you can only go so far. Initially, it's paragraphs at a time, then it's pages at a time, then it's chapters at a time, and you stop and you rewrite. You say, gee, that's not right, or gee, I don't like that, or gee, that's boring. And I do it until I can go from start to finish as an audiobook and be fully entertained with what I've written. That's when I know it's ready to go to a print book, and then I will read the print book as a reader, and you will be surprised how many more things you find reading a book as a reader, especially the sound-alikes. Toe and toe, as in toe on your foot, and to tow something behind a car. Two, and two. Too much, and 2 times. And then finally, if you can, you get a beta reader and you send them a copy of your book. And you talk with them on the phone, or you do an instant messenger, and you see what the problems are. So this is our look at editing and rewriting. We hope you've seen some tips. We hope I've opened your eyes on a few things that you can do if you've never thought of them before, and showed you a few tools. If you found this useful, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe.